What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. We have a special one for you today. We have special guest Jesse Golik-Meineke joining us today. We're going to be doing a quick and dirty Dynasty rookie draft. So if you guys play Dynasty or want to get some intel on the upcoming rookie class for redraft or anything else, this is going to be the show. Super excited to do this with you, Jesse. How we're doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, baby. First show of the year. Let's just keep it hot. Interesting draft class we have. I mean, usually, I always say, like, grab your running backs, but this is not the class for that.
It's definitely
maybe later in the draft.
It's definitely not like a draft we've seen in a while. The quarterbacks doing standard leagues versus superflex rankings. I don't think there's a difference this year, which is quite surprising. Usually superflex that boosts the quarterbacks. I really don't know if there's anything substantially different between those two leagues. So it's kind of fun seeing that. But basically, everyone's getting receivers early. You can see here the way we tiered this. All the green is first round. All the yellow, the orange is second round. Receivers dominated this, and that was kind of the story of the draft. So if you need receivers, it's going to be a good draft for you. If you need running backs, we're going to have to hopefully nail some in the second and third round. So I guess I want to throw it to you right away. Is there any question with if you're up for 101, is it clear who the player is, or are you torn between a couple guys and just want to kind of lock in the first couple guys there for our rankings? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, sure. I mean, 101 doesn't matter the league, doesn't matter the settings. I think Breece Hall is kind of your clear standout. Went to an ascending offense, solid O-line. Michael Carter's there, but he's never really he's not a true 3-down kind of guy. Like Breece Hall has that capability. So, I mean, they took him for a reason. 36 overall. He's basically a first-round pick. So,
and I just wanted to shout out last year, our guy Michael Carter. He was a fourth-round pick. So it's a huge different investment in capital here. Fourth round, the second overall pick in that fourth round, but still huge discrepancy in capital here. And Breece Hall is going to be the banger. And what I'm excited about is it's kind of it's San Francisco East. That's kind of what we got building over there for offense. And again, like you said, the offensive line's getting better. They have weapons galore now, and they're going to lean on Breece Hall. And it's a really tough division too. So I think just leaning on him, and who knows, he might even be able to wrestle enough targets out, away from Michael Carter to be kind of the clear 101, I think, by everyone's rankings here. If you don't take Breece Hall 101, to me, I'm all about Drake London. I think that's my 102. Do you have any thoughts here on the 102, or who else should we be considering?
Yeah, Drake London finds himself probably in the best overall situation of any of these skill position players. I mean, he's going to step right into a role where there's Olamide Zaccheaus. And I mean, Kyle Pitts is the number one there right now. How many targets do you think he ends up seeing?
Don't forget about Auden Tate. Auden Tate is the receiver there.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, you have to be liking Drake London just from a target standpoint. If you're any kind of receiver needy team, say you're maybe stacked at the running back position and you're really sitting at 101, maybe you should try trading back. But Drake London's not a terrible consolation there if you need the wide receiver.
I will play devil's advocate, which is, I mean, Drake London was my favorite player coming into this class. But say I'm up to pick here, Breece Hall's off the board, and I'm not buying Drake London. He's got Marcus Mariota, Matt Corral, or Desmond Ridder is there. What do I have to be excited about for the future? I don't like either of those quarterbacks long term. How can London possibly be better than a guy like Garrett Wilson, who we just talked about? The Jets offense could be a lot of fun there, and basically Corey Davis, I think this is his last year there, really under contract. It could just be the Garrett Wilson primary outside receiver show. Otherwise, Olave's there too. But I think I'm just trying to nitpick here. It sounds like London is the guy. But man, I think you could sell me on Garrett Wilson just because I am excited about the Jets offense, and I think it feels like they have finally some like intelligence behind what they're creating over there, and it's exciting. You see the reinforcements to the offensive line as well as the weapon. So I'm going to say Drake London. But did we kind of answer who our our 103 pick is going to be?
Yeah, I mean, Garrett Wilson, I think he's my number one overall receiver in the class. I just think London is in the situation where you can really get the early capital out of him this year one. Maybe Wilson does have that year one struggle. Maybe Zach Wilson isn't the guy. So maybe there's too many mouths to feed now and over in New York. So I think London there. I mean, he's gonna produce merely on targets alone. And but Garrett Wilson, I mean, from a talent standpoint, he's the whole package. I mean, he's what you want in a receiver, especially with the draft capital. He's gonna get it done for you.
So for me, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, those guys are really, really close. I think you could go either way, but long term, it's clear Garrett Wilson's going to be the main receiving weapon there. And I'm curious about Chris Olave because Michael Thomas is there, but like, are we guaranteed he's going to play? Like Michael Thomas has just had some weird stuff with him going on the last couple of years, so that does come into my mind too. Is like, what if Chris Olave is the number one receiver there in 2 or 3 years from now? But you also have the security questions at quarterback. Is it Winston? Is there going to be a new guy coming in there? We don't know. So to me, the lack of there's not too many questions with Garrett Wilson. I think he's just kind of this rock solid prospect with a fun emerging offense. So Wilson steps into here. I mean, we could poke a hole in Olave, Jamison Williams, all these other guys. We could make a case for their surroundings not being as ideal. But I think everyone sees the arrow pointing up for the Jets. So that just one, not only getting a good receiver, but you're getting an ascending offense that you're attached to here. So Garrett Wilson coming in at the 103. We're going to continue with the receivers here. Or are you thinking this is where Kenneth Walker? I guess I'm curious where that tier. Do we keep a receiver tier going here? What who are we looking at 104?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you have Olave, you have Williams, you have Burks. I mean, Dotson's maybe a tier below for me just based on his landing spot and maybe a little bit more projection for him. But that tier of wide receivers, all very similar. I mean, you can pick which one you think is your favorite. I mean, there's arguments to be made. And then you have Kenneth Walker that's lingering down there. I mean, before the draft, nobody was really questioning if he was the number 2 RB. Maybe they are now just because he landed in Seattle where there's Rashad Penny, there's no quarterback, and Chris Carson is, I don't even know if he's alive anymore. So you just never know what's going to happen with him. There's been a lot of holes starting to be poked around his game. Will he get the carries to really be a stud? Is his weight what you want? It's tough. I mean, Seattle's a tough spot. Like, are they just going to be bad? We have to wonder that.
It seems like they have one of the inside tracks to the first overall pick next year, which could lead them to a prized quarterback. And even if they don't get the 101, they're probably a top 5, at worst top 10 draft pick next year, which should yield them one of the best quarterback prospects in the draft next year. It sounds like there's upwards of 4, 5, 6 guys that are going to be worthy of a first round pick. So you do have to kind of think that's a chess thinking move there. Kenneth Walker, a guy, doesn't really have a lot of appeal this year, but who knows if he takes this year to learn pass protection a little bit more and maybe get a little bit more involved in the passing game, that could really open things up. And then you do have to appreciate Seattle's. They're kind of prepping for a run heavy approach this year. They're drafting offensive line. They're adding players at that position, and they're kind of just assuming, hey, it's not going to happen this year. We're going to position ourselves for the future, and we gotta. Kenneth Walker's a damn good running back. Like he can run the football. We just don't really think he can catch the football. So I think that's the preference. So if you're at 104. And you're like, man, I really need a wide receiver, I can totally get on board with Olave or Williams here, whatever. It's a preference call here. So if you need that position, go ahead and do it. Otherwise, if you have the patience to do it, Walker is probably the move here. So I'm kind of torn. I think I really like the blend of Olave's his rookie year value and his long-term value. So I think to me, I'm taking Olave over Kenneth Walker. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, we're getting to the territory where Walker's maybe becoming a value for some people, but I do agree that, I think the strength of this class is the receivers. Olave is a guy, the biggest knock on taking a rookie receiver is like that year 1 production. They don't get that early production. You're not getting your value, but Olave fits, like you said, he fits the box of year 1 production should be there. Jameis Winston, he will sling the ball. There's no doubt about that. And the talent as well. So I have no problem with Chris Olave in this spot.
All right, let's land Chris Olave. And then I think that's probably after Olave, that's kind of where I'm going to draw the line. Because with a guy like Jamison Williams, you have to factor in that this year is going to be not not a full year. He's probably going to start the season on PUP list, which is a 6-game absence. And there's a lot of time between now and the start of the season. There could be hiccups. There could be there could be stuff that goes unpredicted. And not only is he a question mark with his health, but he's got Jared Goff throwing to him. We're assuming that Detroit, kind of just like Atlanta, could be potentially picking a new quarterback next year. Same with Seattle. So who knows what James? There's a little bit more questions there. I suppose. I think I'm probably going to say Kenneth Walker over Jameson Williams. Where do you stand on those two?
Yeah, I think it's probably Kenneth Walker time, and then you're looking at Jameson Williams at the 6 games. I think I also like Treylon Burks in this range. Another guy that I think has a year one potential.
So we're looking at Kenneth Walker, Burks, and Williams. Those would probably be our next 3 players off the board, right? So it's kind of do you like Burks over Walker? Who do you think? Oh, Burks has he's got one of the highest ceilings as a rookie. So I think someone could be like, ooh, like they could be like, I can get value in him this year, and then go from there. I think Williams and Walker, these guys are more of a patience is rewarding type pick. So it's a preference thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the way I look at it is if you take Walker here and you're looking at the running backs left, it's kind of a huge gap. Whereas if you pass on Walker for the receiver, like the receivers, there's quite a few receivers that could all be in a similar tier, or at least not too far away in value. So when you're coming back in that second round, maybe you'll still get a receiver that you like. Whereas that second round, you may not be finding a running back who has that potential of what you're going to get in Kenneth Walker. Maybe not year one, but down the road. You expect Kenneth Walker by next year to be the guy in Seattle, right? I mean, you would hope so. And if they do, if they bottom out and they end up with they end up with a CJ Stroud, I mean, maybe that's a team that has a quick turnaround. I mean, DK and Lockett are there. That's a good core to walk into. If they just boost that offensive line like they need to, that could be a fun offense again in a really short amount of time. So I'm probably not letting Kenneth Walker slip past my 105.
And the only knock I can see on Walker is that he doesn't really catch the ball. Like he can learn. I think they're trying to. I did see a thing about Pete Carroll saying that he's not going to necessarily say he's a true 3-down back just yet, but that's going to be something. Again, this year's a throwaway year for Seattle. We're not expecting Kenneth Walker to be a top 20, top 24 running back. I think for fantasy this year, but if he can learn how to do that in pass protect, I think you're looking at a lot of fun in 2023. So we'll put him there. I think to me, we kind of both said that Treylon Burks is probably over Jameson Williams for us. Like we'd rather dip into this production. And again, he's going to be he's the clear number 1 receiver right away for this team. Do we know what's going on with Robert Woods? I mean,
I don't know if we've gotten like the clear go ahead that I don't think he's starting camp right away. I think he's still recovering, right?
I think he could be a PUP list candidate. Again, usually it's 9 to 10 months removed, and as an older player, a year removed from a knee injury, that we might not see Robert Woods perform at what the clip that we've seen him in the past. So to me, I don't even know if I can count on Robert Woods to be himself this season. Can you tell me who the second receiver is after Burks and Robert Woods?
Nope.
It's Nick Westbrook.
Yeah.
So
Westbrook.
I think Treylon Burks is kind of the clear 106 to me, and then I think we can move on from there.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. And I think, for me, Jameson Williams is probably the guy. I don't see anyone who can kind of match his ceiling. At this point in the draft. Maybe if you're a QB needy team, you think Kenny Pickett at this spot, but feels like the other 2 guys, and you have Dotson and Watson. You're looking at projection guys, so the door is open. The door is open for Watson to walk into that team and be the guy, right? What's stopping Watson from being the guy besides maybe Rodgers?
Well, what's exciting about it is a lot of people are going to question. How ready is he? He's raw. That's fine. But the rookie season potential for Christian Watson, is it going to surprise you if he has a similar season to Garrett Wilson or Treylon Burks or Olave? Like he's gonna get the opportunity to do it as far as volume and targets. and he might be up and down his rookie season, but man, I can see you could paint a picture. 2023, Christian Watson could, especially if he has a good end of the campaign this year, like Christian Watson, he could be a guy again who his second year and his third year he's playing with Aaron Rodgers still. That could be a lot of fun. So to me, that's gonna. I might take Christian Watson over Jameson Williams just because I can see 2-3 years down the road. Whereas Williams, you're kind of counting it as a redshirt year this year. Jared Goff, and then plus that you're going to add a rookie quarterback to that too in a year or two. So I think in the next 2-3 year window, and it might be Christian Watson, but that could flip, I guess, past that. So that's kind of what we're weighing here. I'm still not touching Kenny Pickett just because we don't even know if he's going to be able to beat out Mitchell Trubisky this season. So I'm going to wait there. But it's these receivers. It's Williams, Dotson, or Christian Watson. I think for me, I think out of respect, we should probably just put Jameson Williams here. I'm not thinking about running back yet. Just are we fine with locking in, I guess, Jameson Williams here?
Yeah, I think from a ceiling standpoint, you got to at least like the value that Williams can present to your team. If you want someone who maybe is more ready for this year, maybe you lean Watson, but yeah, I mean Jameson Williams, he's a fun player. I mean,
well, before his injury, man, and if you were doing Dynasty research in November or December, he was the 101 receiver. Like he was the clear guy that everyone was gushing about. And if you look even before that, I think it was Drake London before he got hurt. So I think if you're a smart, savvy guy, you're just going to take Jameson Williams and like who knows who the Detroit Lions quarterback could be next year. Maybe they make a trade. Maybe they draft a guy. I'm super interested to find out. But you're just collecting probably one of the best talented players, and he falls to 107 here in the draft.
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't surprise me in 2-3 years if we're like, oh my god, why'd we do that?
Right. I think Jameson Williams is one of those guys next year in redraft that you're going to probably be able to get at a good price, and you're gonna like it.
So 107 Jameson Williams. The next, I mean, we have the top three guys here. I'm not really thinking about any of these players quite yet. It's probably Dotson, Pickett, and Watson off the board as our next three picks in that order, or not in that order, but as a group. So it's a preference call. If you need Kenny Pickett, I think at 108, that's probably where I start to think about him. If you want someone to kind of have some fun with, Watson's going to have that potential to boom or bust his rookie season, but again, he's got Aaron Rodgers for 2 or 3 years. Jahan Dotson, I'm probably going to rank him third out of these three guys. Just I don't know what's going on with Wentz. He's kind of the number 2 option behind Terry McLaurin, but I could paint a really nice picture in a year or two from now. What if Terry? It sounds like they were going to trade Terry McLaurin at parts of this offseason.
Thought it was happening.
If he's gone, Dotson's the wide receiver 1 here, and who knows? Washington could land themselves a new quarterback, or if Wentz works out and sticks around, you could be getting a number 1 receiver here. So I'm going to rank them: Watson, Pickett, Dotson. How are you aligning with these three?
Yeah, I don't have any. I'm in complete agreement with that order for me. Watson, get a guy who's, ceiling's unknown, really.
Mm-hmm.
Floor is unknown, really. But it's Aaron Rodgers. You trust that he's going to be working with the kid. He knows he's got a short window. Let's figure it out. Kenny Pickett, it's kind of the time. If you're in need of a quarterback, I mean, you're not trading out to go get Kenny Pickett, but if he falls into your lap in the right time, that's a guy you can grab, at least the closest to a starting quarterback you're going to get from these rookies in year 1. And then, Dotson's kind of the de facto last guy from the first round, right? I mean,
and what I've seen with Pickett is he's kind of got this range of outcomes in between somewhere like Derek Carr and Kirk Cousins. Like he's going to be a good player. Is he going to be a great elite player? Probably not. But man, talk about a cast of weapons. He gets to play with Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson, Pat Freiermuth, Chase Claypool, George Pickens, and I'm missing someone else. They drafted another receiver later in the draft.
To replace Ray. I can't think of his name, but he's kind of a little gadget guy.
Yeah, now I have to find him because he's a good player. Where are we? Why can't I see him? Well, we'll get to him eventually. I'll find him. But here we are. I guess if you're in a 10-man league, this is the first round. We're going to round out, I guess, a 12-man draft here. And this is where it got really tough because we just don't know who to throw in. We're all out of first-round picks. We're looking at second-round picks here. Wandale Robinson, John Mechie, Tyquan Thornton, not interested here. George Pickens, Alec Pierce, Stein Moore, Trey McBride, James Cook. If it's me, Sky Moore and Trey McBride are the two names that stick out. Who do you got?
Yeah, so I think purely from a just you never know what could happen, and it's Patrick Mahomes. You gotta like Sky Moore. I mean, this is gonna be their potential future. I mean, they lost Hill. Andy Reid will find a way to use these guys. We thought it was gonna be Mecole Hardman. Maybe just never really panned out, but Sky Moore's a fun little guy. He's a fun guy. Fun to watch his highlights. He can do some fun things.
He's built like a running back, and I'm hoping that they're going to allow him to be kind of the primary slot receiver. But they got Juju there. They do have Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Mecole Hardman. So he's kind of entering the room as like the fringe number 3, number 4 receiver. So I think we have to temper our expectations this year. But I think Juju's on a 1-year deal. They did sign MVS to a longer term deal. So there's potential for Sky Moore to beat out Juju for 2023. So as long as you're patient, again, you're drafting a guy that's attached to Patrick Mahomes here. So it should be a lot of fun. We'll put him in there at 11. And then I mentioned Trey McBride. Did you have anyone that could beat him for our final 12 first round pick?
Yeah, so Trey's a fun one to think about just on, he was the clear T1. Arizona's still got Zach Ertz to deal with, but you can't be thinking he has too many more seasons at the top level. So McBride's probably, with tight ends, you got to kind of take the grain of salt that they're not maybe going to produce year one unless their name is Kyle Pitts and they're a generational talent. But the guy, he profiles as a very solid receiver, solid blocker, all-around guy you like. The other name that I like, hopefully there's no bias on this, I'm a Colts fan, but Alec Pierce is he's pro ready. I mean, he's going to step in. He could be stepping in right into a outside role with Indianapolis, who doesn't really have much outside of Pittman, who plays mostly in the slot. So, his biggest competition right now is Paris Campbell, who, he's shown moments of fun, but mostly moments of being injured and not on the field. So, can you trust there? And he's dependable. He's a good blocker. He's going to be on the field a lot, and he's going to be on the field early. So.
You've convinced me. I wanted to shout out Trey McBride, but I think it's a bit rich. But when you factor in, can they help you this year? Alec Pierce can. Trey McBride probably can't unless there's a Zach Ertz injury. I guess the one thing that's cool for McBride is he gets to learn from a Pro Bowl tight end, so that's going to be nice in a year or two. But Alec Pierce, you mentioned the blocking for Jonathan Taylor. They're going to eat that up. Like they're going to see him in training camp and be like, "Oh, this is why we did it." And then you factor in his vertical game and his was he the 10.0 in the RAS score? He's either like a 9.96 or something.
It was he's in the 9s. I don't think he was quite Christian Watson, but he was up there. I mean,
he was one of the top.
He's in the top percentile.
So he, as a Packer fan, you see elements of Jordy Nelson to this guy's game. He's a freak athlete, and round 2 wide receivers. A lot of fun things have happened out of round 2 receivers, especially the last few years. I just want to shout out a couple names here. Back in 2021, round 2 receivers, Elijah Moore. Still waiting to see what's up with Rondale Moore, Dwayne Eskridge, Tutu Atwell, Terrace Marshall. So those are kind of some duds, but you did get Elijah Moore in there. But the 2020 season, we're talking about T. Higgins, Michael Pittman, Chase Claypool, even Van Jefferson. There's some fun ones in there. And then I guess one more season back, you got Debo, A.J. Brown, there's Mecole Hardman, there's Paris Campbell, there's DK Metcalf. So there are some big heavy hitters coming into the second round, and I think Alec Pierce could be that guy. We didn't even talk about Matt Ryan, which could be a lot of fun. Absolutely. So there's our first round complete. We'll kind of pick up the pace for round 2. We're just kind of winging things around. I want to just ask you real quick, what are guys we're not interested in right now? It's Tyquan Thornton for me. Any other names here? I'm not interested in Velus Jones Jr. yet. That's a third round pick in this stuff. But anyone you're not taking, I guess, in the first couple picks of the second round.
So certain thing. Your eyes draw to the top. You have Thornton, who just being in New England, you can't trust the receivers there. Wan'Dale is kind of a guy who people are torn on him. He's shorter, but what's interesting to note, he went way higher than people were projecting. So. Giants got to have a plan for him, right? That's a guy who must be circled on their draft board thinking we know how to use this guy.
The weird thing about that, too, was there was kind of like a little rumor of Kadarius Toney being on the block, right? So like
Yeah.
there's something up with that. And keep in mind, it's a new head coach, new management in New York, which is a lot of fun. And this was they took Wandale over guys like Mechie and Pickens and Alec Pierce, Sky Moore. So that was surprising. Again, he's 5'8", so that's crazy. But you think about the Buffalo offense, he'll be the slot receiver in a year or two. And the fun part about this is it's the Giants. This is a team that could be getting a new quarterback next year. So if you don't like Daniel Jones, that's fine. But I don't think you should put him into the equation for Wandale's future. So that's kind of fun. I don't think I'm going to take him here yet, but he's a fun player to think about because there's so many different ways he could go. But who's? I guess what are we doing with this next? Is it George Pickens? Is it John Mechie? I'm still thinking the receiver train keeps rolling here.
Yeah, I mean, I could, if you're really a running back needy team, I think you could look at James Cook. We've talked about, what his potential is in that Buffalo offense. As far as he's a receiver and a running back body, and Buffalo doesn't necessarily throw the ball a lot. So we would need to see him used in different ways to really kind of see that projection play out from him hitting. So I think I do like the receivers here. John Mechie is a guy who I've always been interested in. George Pickens, another interesting landing spots. Pittsburgh and drafting wide receivers in the mid rounds
it's been solid.
It's a recipe for success. I mean, if you,
solid.
And George Pickens is a guy we like, so I can see that. We talked about Trey McBride. If you're a team that can use that tight end, maybe this is a good spot, early second round, for you to go and grab him.
So we're establishing, I guess, the next 4 picks roughly. We like Mechie, we like Pickens, we like McBride, we like Cook. And that's kind of where it falls off after that, right?
Yeah. Then I think, and then you got to think, is it time to take Wandale? Do we start thinking about the quarterbacks? Where do we go next? But I think those are a solid 4. And, if we want to keep the receiver train going here, we like the Pickens and Mechie, and then we can play around with McBride and Cook.
So we'll lock these guys into the beginning of the second round. These guys can be interchangeable. Again, with James Cook, you're getting a really damn good receiving back, but he's got to beat out Duke Johnson this year. He's also got to deal with Devin Singletary, and Zach Moss is there. So the rookie season, it's going to be a crowded room. And the other part that I don't like about that is training camp reps. He's not going to get a ton of them. He's going to get basically 25% at best with those 4 guys. So that is frustrating. I think you're banking on Singletary not being with them in the future. Zach Moss, I'm curious about his future with the team. And then Duke Johnson's just a free agent right now. So it could be a year or two for James Cook. I think just from the nature of the position, I'll put him at 203. And then let's lock in Trey McBride here as our 204. And then into the middle of the second round. We mentioned Wandale Robinson. I don't think we're interested in Tyquan Thornton yet. Wandale's interesting here. I do think you probably got to consider Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis, and Matt Corral. And then maybe another receiver or 2, whether that's David Bell. I really like Jalen Tolbert. I could tell you a story about Tolbert where he could be value here. But should we just knock off the quarterbacks here?
Yeah, I think, I don't hate Wandale here if you're a believer, if you think the Giants know what they're doing with him there. But then I think, these quarterbacks, it's a good spot to take a gamble on them. I mean, you have Ridder and Malik who are an injury away from 2 running quarterbacks to being the guys. I think it's a good spot for those guys.
How about I'm going to knock off the 3 quarterbacks in a row. We'll get Ridder out of here. We'll get Malik out of here. And how about this? Just for fun, we'll get Wandale kind of sandwiched in there, and we'll throw in Corral. So
Corral maybe a little bit behind those other 2, just from
maybe let's.
I think that's
let's take it lower because that's interesting. Sam Darnold's the starter. Probably a round 3 pick on Matt Corral. But man, like if they have a year of knowledge on him, and next year they're in the top 5, top 10. They could just take another quarterback. Like they don't have anything really invested in Corral. Yeah. So that does make me pause a little bit. Whereas some of these running backs, whether it's if you like Brian Robinson, there's already saying that he's going to be a 1-2 punch potentially with Antonio Gibson. You got Damian Pierce, who is a guy here who has been productive for Florida the last few seasons. I think though, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pitch Zamir White and Isaiah Spiller to be our 208 and our 209 because the Raiders didn't pick up any options for their fifth year guys. So Josh Jacobs not guaranteed to be on the team next year. Zamir White is kind of a Josh Jacobs clone, not as good as a receiving back. But Zamir White can pound the tackles. And again, new regime there. They brought in Brandon Bolden and they drafted Zamir White. That could be where this team is going in the future. And then Isaiah Spiller, just because he's the number 2 behind Austin Eckler and he's tied to Justin Herbert. I kind of want a piece of the Chargers offense. So for me, those 2 running backs stick out as some fun players. Anything to add to that, or you want to knock a receiver or 2? What do you got?
Yeah, I'm fully on board the Zamir White hype train. He's one of the guys who he's got the steady beat. That drum is already beaten. It's already beaten for him. The team likes him. They can see him being their guy. They're not picking up Jacobs. I mean, it's just you get strings of positive news like that. You start to think about it and start to take notice. So I think that's a good pick there. It's a fun little, maybe someone call it a reach, but you gotta find your guys. I mean, these rounds, there might be an ADP, but in reality, if you see a guy who's late third versus early third draft wise, but you just think the talent's there, you just take your guy at this point, right? I mean, I don't think you need to follow any kind of set recipe here.
And that's going to be one of those savvier picks where if you're in a draft, you'd be like, dang, and he took Zamir White in front of me. Like, everyone's going to want him, I think. And then I don't know if you like Spiller here. I like him more than the other running backs. I guess he's kind of tied with Dameon Pierce just for the potential, I guess, that they could have. Brian Robinson. Those are the 3 running backs sticking out to me. Not a fan of Rashad White with Tampa Bay, especially because, like, cool, Tom Brady's back. That's great, but we don't know how long he's back for.
This has got to be it, right? Like this is the last year.
So you're banking on a rookie running back here to basically have a season worth using as a starter.
And they gave Fournette 3 years, right? 3 years for.
Yeah, I'm not buying it. And then Tyrion Davis-Price, San Fran knows what they're doing. He's a round 3 running back, so he's kind of fun. But I don't know. I'm probably going to put Spiller as my next guy, but then I'm probably looking at guys like, I guess, in this order, Spiller, Pierce, and then probably Robinson.
From a running back perspective?
Yeah.
Or just in general? Yeah, I mean, I think, Spiller before this year, I mean, he was one of the guys that people were loving. I mean, people were making the case for him to be the RB1, coming out of this draft, and he just didn't have a great year. He put some weight on or something. He ran very slow. I mean, you got to take, I mean, anytime you run a combine numbers, you have to just take with a little bit of grain of salt. I think if you look at Spiller at this point of the draft, you're like, this is a guy who could be the guy. If Eckler goes down, he can do some fun things with the football. I mean,
he can do all the things with the football.
Right, he can do it all around. I will make a case though here. Maybe if we shift away from the running backs, I'm going to make a case for one David Bell here in Cleveland. I think the door is open behind Amari Cooper. David Njoku is probably the number 2 for receiving options right now. You have Donovan Peoples-Jones, not really a lot of draft capital there. Nothing, they didn't show last year that they were really tied to him. David Bell, though, interesting guy, fun receiver. I mean,
smooth.
Yeah, he's got an interesting skill set, and I think he's pretty good. So
people are gonna knock his 40 time, and I have a problem with that. Like, if you watch his tape, like, I don't care what his 40 time is. He doesn't need to be a 40 timed receiver. Just very smooth. He can do all the routes, and he's going to be potential wide receiver 2 there. Donovan Peoples-Jones has the leg up, but that could be a really nice get there, and that could look really nice in a couple of years. And you're getting a piece of Deshaun Watson's passing charts. And I actually think I'm cool with skipping the running backs here. What do you know about Jalen Tolbert, man? Because I'm getting excited about him. Just the Dallas Cowboys, the depth chart for the receiver there. Of course, it's CeeDee Lamb. They gave Michael Gallup a ton of money in a 5-year contract. I don't know if he's going to be ready to start the season, though. He might be a pupless guy. So you're potentially entering the year with CeeDee Lamb as your wide receiver 1, James Washington as your wide receiver 2. Who's after that? Probably Jalen Tolbert. He might. And keep in mind, like, I don't even know if Michael Gallup's going to be ready at the start of training camp. So you're talking about Tolbert getting a lot of reps with the ones right away, which has me excited. So, and we've seen, again, remember Cedric Wilson last year? We've seen the Cowboys have 4 receivers useful at times. And if Tolbert's going to be that guy, I'm attaching myself to Dak Prescott. Gallup's been injured the last couple seasons. I think James Washington's there on a 1-year deal. Tying myself to Dallas and Dak Prescott, that's I'm starting to warm up to Tolbert. I like him. He's a little guy. He's skinny, but he could be an explosive player for them, kind of like how they use Cedric Wilson and then some. So I could argue that is probably where I want to go here. Otherwise, Corral and then whoever we want.
Yeah, I think maybe we have Corral wrap it up. I can get on board with Tolbert here. I mean, I think that's that. Like you said, you're tying yourself to Dak and a guy who likes to spread the ball. I mean, they're going to use him. Mm-hmm. So I'm fully on board. I mean, it's a fun pick.
So we just wrapped up the second round here. We're on to the first pick in the third round. And I think from here we can kind of chunk these into tiers. I'm not taking a quarterback. Again, before the show, we were talking off the air about quarterbacks after the fourth round. I think in the last 10 drafts, outside of this year's draft, the only quarterbacks useful in fantasy in the last 10 seasons, we're talking Dak Prescott, we're talking Kirk Cousins, Gardner Minshew, and then I can't remember the last one. Jesse, can you help me? It was deep. Like we're talking real deep.
Trevor Siemian had a couple useful games there. He was a 7th rounder.
He was in there. There's Kirk, and then 2011, Tyrod Taylor. That was the one. So only 4 quarterbacks, like roughly in the last 10 years, useful in the fourth round. So I might just fade all these guys. But we do have a ton of third-round players here. Are we taking Tyquan Thornton, Velus Jones? Do you want to shout out Jelani Woods, get some tight end action going here, or should we just kind of plow these running backs off the board now? What's your approach here?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the time, for the running backs. You got Brian Robinson, who's one Antonio Gibson toe turf away from being a guy that they rely on. TDP, I mean, San Francisco, they have a history of nailing these running back picks. No, what happened with Trey Sermon last year? It's kind of a weird one, but outside of him, they've had some good success. Damian Pierce probably has a pretty strong route to being the starting guy. I mean, they brought Sexy Rexy back, but...
And Marlon Mack's there.
Yeah, Marlon Mack. What does Marlon Mack have left in the tank? Don't know. Sexy Rexy, he's going to give you a lot of effort, but he's going to get hurt along the process. So Damian Pierce is probably going to be a guy, I bet you towards the second half of the season, they probably just use him because why not? They're not going to be in contention. Let's see what they got from their young guys. So could maybe provide you with some, maybe some flex E numbers, get a couple touchdowns.
Are we throwing Rachaad White into this little running back run?
Yeah, why not? I mean,
he's a running back.
He's a running back.
Dude, if anything happens to Leonard Fournette, who's Tampa Bay's running back?
Yeah. I mean, it's another good offense. I mean, that's what you want ideally. I mean, is now a time that we start looking at the 29-year-old Velus Jones Jr.?
I think for me, because tight ends take so damn long. This is where I'm looking at Velus Jones and Tyquan Thornton. I think it's fair to get these two guys off the board together and kind of pair them as like those quirky picks in the day two that are just like, okay, yeah, now I can do it. All the running backs are gone. I guess I'll pivot. Do we have any words on these guys? Thornton's weird. He was supposed to be a 4th round pick. Super fast. He was the fastest guy at the combine. He's more than just a speed guy though. Because I thought the Packers were going to be looking at him in the 4th round, and it turns out we didn't get a chance to. So he's a speed guy, but is this a compliment to Mac Jones's game? I don't know. So that's a question mark there. But Velus Jones Jr., man, everyone wanted him to be their punt and kick returner.
He's a return specialist. I mean,
he's a gamer, and I'm just curious. I was at the Packer-Bears game last year, and the way they used Jakeem Grant and Damiere Byrd and things like that, they're going to have a role for him. So he could be in the 3rd round. He could be, and he's older, so he's a little bit more, I guess, mature than some of these guys. So he's not really a rookie. He's been around the block or two, so he could be a guy that surprises people. So that's hard for me to say. The Chicago Bear, Velus Jones Jr. is a fun pick, but he could be a guy that surprises. I think actually for as much crap as people have been giving him. But now we're at the no man's land.
This is it.
What do you want to get Jelani Woods and Greg Dulcich off the board here? Are we going tight ends? Is it actually I have another running back or two if you want to hear that out. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, give it to me. There's one running back name on the list who could maybe just plunge himself right into a starting role should Derrick Henry not be the same guy, and that's one Hassan Haskins. I mean, Darrington Evans is gone. Who else do they got on the depth chart?
The guy that they had last year, he was kind of the pass catching back. I can't remember this. Can't remember his name, but he was a fun fantasy guy.
Yeah, I mean, they got Dontrell Hilliard.
That's it, Dontrell Hilliard. So
Jordan Wilkins, Trenton Cannon. I mean, these are a bunch of castaways. So.
We're putting Haskins right there at the RB2, and I might take Hassan Haskins over Rashad White, over Tyrion Davis-Price, maybe even Damian Pierce. I think we might have missed that one a little bit. I think Haskins could be first, right next to Brian Robinson. Actually, like that's kind of where I could see him going.
It's a fair play.
I did have one more running back for you. I really like Tyler Algier for Atlanta. Atlanta's got nobody. They got Peterson. And then they cut Mike Davis like 2 days after the draft. They're like, "We're good. I'm sorry, buddy, but we're good." You want to look at their roster for running backs? Let's take a quick peek at that, because
it's gonna be ugly, man. It's gonna be really
talking
ugly.
about a guy with potential here. I mean, they did sign Damian Williams, but we're talking about a guy here who is the number 3 running back for a team right away. And so this is clearly a running team. I think Tyler Algier, injury 2 goes his way, all of a sudden you're looking at a rookie running back that could have a lot of fun volume here. No other really running backs stick out to me besides him. I don't know if you had anybody else on your mind.
Yeah, no, not really. I think it's
well, I'll pump him in there. And then we're probably getting to that point where we just don't care anymore. Can we get Jelani Woods and Greg Dulcich off the board?
Yeah, I think Jelani Woods is a fun projection. He's a guy who was a late riser, freak athlete, big dude. Maybe he'll be what we wanted Mo Alley Cox to be.
So I'm not.
Tell me about Greg Dulcich.
I'm not sold on him. He's kind of he's a really good seam tight end. Like he's like Seattle, or I'm thinking of Russell Wilson. Denver will like him, but he's behind Albert Okwuegbunam, who they said, nah, Noah Fant, go to Seattle. Like we got Albert O. So to me, I don't really see the long-term starting potential for Dulcich. I think he's just going to be kind of a rotational guy there. I actually think there's some other tight ends here. One, Jeremy Ruckert, really productive at Ohio State. He's just that Jets offense, man. It wouldn't surprise me in 3 or 4 years from now if we're talking about Jeremy Ruckert being a productive player. And then keep an eye on this Daniel Bellinger for the Giants here, because they really don't have, letting Evan Ingram walk. They did sign Ricky Seals-Jones, but he's been a journeyman for his career, so he's not the long-term answer. But this Daniel Bellinger guy, at one point, he was one of the top-rated tight ends in this class, so he's caught my attention. And again, we're talking end of the 3rd round, 4th round pick of Dynasty draft. Like, who cares, really?
We're running out of names.
Jake Ferguson, you tying yourself to Dallas. They as much as it pains me to say, they do not have Blake Jarwin on the team right now. He's a free agent, and it's Dalton Schultz, who I think they franchise tag. So there's no commitment to the tight end. Maybe holding on to Jake Ferguson. I think we do have to talk about Romeo Dubes. Sammy Watkins is ahead of him on the depth chart. So at some point, Romeo Doubs is going to be starting. So I think I could launch him into there. But we haven't even talked about
I know where you're heading on this one.
Player on this list right now. It's
Shakir. Yes, sir.
Sure, Jamison Crowder's there for a year, but we're talking about a guy that he shouldn't have been there in the 5th round. You're tying yourself to Josh Allen. It's just where you want to be. I'm gonna throw Romeo Doubs in there too, just because Green Bay's had some success with 4th round receivers. And then you want to throw in the final pick of the 3rd round.
What do we close? This will be our last pick of the draft, and there's really nothing that we love here. We know we talked about the quarterbacks after the 4th round. Sam Howell's down there, yes, but he's not pretty. What's our favorite tight end on here? Who do we think? Do we think it's Ruckert? Do we think Ruckert has the potential? Do we want to pick down here for our favorite deep?
There it is. There's Calvin Austin, the Pittsburgh receiver that's going to take place for.
Oh, it's the Ray guy.
The Ray move, yeah. What about Isaiah Likely? Would have been cool if he weren't from Baltimore. That kind of sucks. What about Pierre Strong potentially being that pass catching back for the James White replacement? That could be interesting here. Otherwise, really strong things about this Danny Gray guy. Lately, the 49ers have had a good run of drafting wide receivers. I kind of trust their talent for that position as well as running back. And with the Debo uncertainty, Danny Gray's fast. Like Danny Gray's if anything happens to Debo, or again, they've been pretty good drafting that position. So he's kind of fun. But nothing sticks out, man. Does it matter at this point? Just pick a name.
But it's it. It doesn't matter. You know, I mean, give him Jake Ferguson, baby, the Wisconsin boy.
All right, shout
Back
out
up to Dalton Schultz.
you, Dub. Jake Ferguson rounds out. You're
Yes.
catching yourself to Dak. You can't go wrong. And I guess at this point of the draft, if you're in your 4th round, that's when you're taking those retread veterans that everyone dropped into the bucket. You're taking a guy probably. I don't know. If Tyler Huntley's on the board, I'm taking Tyler Huntley. I'm taking some backup QBs. I'm taking some trash and just maintaining, I guess, some veteran leadership to my bottom of my bench just in case I need it. But any final thoughts, Jesse? Did you want to shout out anybody here that you might want just one more pick at? Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Sam Howell, for his credit, you know, he's raw, but he could be an interesting guy down the line if, you know, something happens and he gets a shot. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to be interested to see if he can beat out Taylor Heineke for the number 2 spot. So if he can do that in year 1, that's telling. So if he can do that, keep an eye out for that. Otherwise, Calvin Austin probably needs to be on a roster. Keep an eye on. There's some undrafted guys that I'm discussing, and I want to get them because I'm just ahead of things, usually way too far ahead of them. But there's a running back. Last name's Abrams. I don't even know his first name, but he's playing for New Orleans, undrafted, and this guy could be the starting running back for them week 1 because we don't know what's going on with Alvin Kamara and his federal investigations thing. So I can't even remember his first name, but something to look into and keep an eye on. But I think that's going to do it for this show. Any final thoughts, man? What are you excited about? And this was fun. I'm glad we finally got to do this.
Yeah, man, it's been a long time coming. Shout out to Pacheco from Kansas City because Clyde Edwards just not that good, and Ronald Jones. Well, I know you got to think for him, but interesting they didn't let him just go to on a free agency and sign him. But see what happens with him. No, man. I mean, I think wide receivers of the class are the cream of the crop for this draft. See how that plays out. I'll be curious to see which of these rookies year 1 can maybe pull a Jamar, not quite a Jamar Chase. I mean, we're talking about historic levels, but I mean, we've had recent success with rookies. CeeDee Lamb had a decent first year, Justin Jefferson. So it seems to be there's always a couple of guys that are going to show up, and I think that this class is strong enough to have a couple guys as well. So,
any final bold? You get 1 or 2 bold takes. Who's your best rookie receiver this year?
Best rookie receiver this year, I'm gonna say for redraft, Treylon Burks.
Okay, and not really a question who the top running back is or tight end or anything. So that's kind of just the meat of the question. I'm gonna go with Chris Olave as my answer. Jameis Winston with 2 receivers, man. Like that's what they've been doing. That's just what they've done. And I even think back to like the days, like the Drew Brees days of Saints. Kind of always had 2 receiving weapons. It was Michael Thomas. And an older Marcus Colston. They've always kind of had like a Kenny Stills type. They've always had room for 2 receivers on offense. So I think Chris Olave, not going to surprise me if he's the one-on-one. Treylon Burks is fun as hell for sure. But I get your receivers. I think that's the final thought of this, and draft Khalil Shakir at the end of your draft. So that's going to do it for this video. We'll get Jesse on some more stuff soon, some more Dynasty stuff. We'll just hang out and probably talk some more Dynasty. We'll probably end up doing this in a month or so again and just rehashing it all with more news. So we'll see. But this was a lot of fun. Thanks for hanging out. We'll get out of here. Again, thanks for your time. Thanks for everybody watching the video. Subscribe, like if you are new to the channel, and we'll see you in the future. Peace.